All righty, welcome in. Chico Bormann Show, and what a show we have in store for you today. Now, of course, we're going to be talking baseball with our good buddy Bret Boone, the former All-Star second baseman. Yes, we will get to him in just a bit, but we open this show today with none other than your Cleveland Cavaliers. Something a little crazy happened on the way to Game 2. Nobody, and I don't care how much you believe in this team, you may have seen a victory coming. You didn't see a 23, 24. There's no way you did. No way you did. But voila, this is what happens, kids, when you make shots and the Boston Celtics, who seem to live and die by that three, they don't make Boston looked like they didn't really have a plan B last night. I mean, it was like, well, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to fill it up from long range. But if that doesn't happen and we're not able to connect, then we're in trouble, and they were in trouble. And I mean, guys that are X factors for everybody knows about Jaylen Brown. Everybody knows about Jason Tatum. But we saw Derek White in Game 1. He's been incredible and kind of the guy that nobody really has talked about enough throughout the playoffs. He's been great. Derek White was non-existent last night. 1 of 8 beyond the arc, 3 of 11 from the floor. Drew Holiday did not hit a shot from 3. So combined, they go 1 for 10. But here's the thing. The Cavaliers, and I was listening to an interview with a Boston writer after last night's game. He said that he believes last night's game, Cavaliers Game 2 victory, 118-94. He says, I don't think Boston has had contested threes from start to finish like they did tonight or last night against the Cavaliers. So there you go. I mean, there's your recipe. And that doesn't mean it's easy, because Boston is an explosive offensive team. They've got a lot of scoring. They are a pretty good defensive team. But you hold Boston to 94 points. Okay, Jason Tatum had 25 and Jaylen Brown had 19. But they didn't just take over the game. And again, those X factors were not X factors. They were non-factors. And why? Because the Cavs played together as a team. And oh, by the way, on the other side of the equation, they were the ones hitting the big threes. And that's what was missing. Like, I go back to Game 5, boom, against Orlando, Game 7 against Orlando. And, you know, of course, I knew there was going to be, the pitchforks were out and guys were complaining about JB. And I'm like, you can complain about JB in rotations. I get that. But that Game 7, you had guys missing point-blank layups. You had guys, I mean, I don't know how many bunnies they missed. You had guys with great looks at the basket inside 15 feet, not making. You can scheme up anything. You can be Red Auerbach for all I'm concerned. It doesn't matter if the shots don't fall. And when the shots fall, it's that old cliche, man, everybody looks better, everybody looks smarter. That Cavaliers team needed a big confidence boost, and they got it last night. Now, what's going to happen on Saturday in Game 3? Well, we'll see. But we know this. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse is going to be rocking, and Boston, they might be puckering a little bit. This has been the narrative with the Celtics. Come playoff time, come big moments, they tend to shrink. It's a long series, but the Cavs got a big W, Bo.
Chico, I think my greatest concern right now is just how sustainable is play like that from the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
I mean, they looked phenomenal. They were hitting all the big shots. Can they keep that up for more than one game? Because we saw it last year with the Knicks. I mean, they looked great for one game, and then it just all went out the window beyond that after the Knicks kind of punched back. And then we saw it in the first round of the playoffs as well with the Celtics already after the Miami Heat win one in Boston. And people start to panic a little bit like, oh, okay, something might be going on here. We might have ourselves a series. Nope, gentleman's sweep. So how will the Cavs respond to however the Celtics punch back?
No, and that's a great point. With Miami, though, first of all, and I would say this even if Miami was healthy, but they were losing guys. They just didn't have enough players. The Cavs, you know, obviously you have Donovan Mitchell, who's incredible. Evan Mobley on both ends of the floor. Garland, really, you talk about X factors. When he's feeling confident and the shots are going down, they're a different team. But you saw it on both ends of the floor. In that Orlando series, I can't count how many times I would just yell out loud, like, okay, you've got numbers, push it. Now, you don't always have to get out, but they just didn't really, they just seemed off. And, okay, yeah, I know the JB haters. Some of that was JB, of course. He's the head coach. Some of it's guys just needing to hit point-blank shots and remember what their assignments are on defense. I was thoroughly impressed. Now, to your point, and it's a good one, can they sustain this? Time will tell. But now, Boston, absolutely, positively, this is in their heads. I do like, and I kind of laugh at it, the national media, because nobody has paid attention to the Cavs, and that's fine. I don't give a shit about stuff like that. I really don't. But now the national media is like, well, the Cavs are playing with house money. All the pressure's on Boston. I get it from the national narrative. Yeah, I mean, Boston, they had the most wins. We know what they've done the last few seasons. And so, yes, the pressure is clearly on them. But if you think the Cavs are playing with house money, JB, we don't know if JB's going to be back next year. We don't know if the front office is going to be. How is this thing, going to be next season, depending on how they do the rest of the series? So for the national types to continue to say, oh, well, the Cavs are playing with house money, it's all the pressure's on Boston. Look, I get it. The pressure is on Boston, but there's pressure on the Cavaliers as well. But I love the fact that you steal one on the road, and now you go back to what is sure to be a raucous, I love that word, Bohm, a raucous Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So very, very impressive. And we're hearing reports, our good buddy Chris Fedor, who we've had on the show many times, Cleveland.com and Cleveland Plain Dealer. Fedor is saying that Dean Wade, knock on wood here, could play on Saturday, could be ready to go. Now, we've heard that. Dean Wade's been the big mystery for me. Jared Allen, look, I know we want to, get in there. It's the playoffs. Jared Allen can barely lift his arms above his head to get his shirt off. That's what I'm hearing. And Jared Allen played 81 consecutive games before missing that first playoff game. So if Jared Allen could go, he would go. And hopefully he will be able to go. But I'm not banking on that. And it sucks because he's been one of your best players, most consistent players, and certainly you could use him on the boards. Although the Cavs, that's the other thing. Not only did they play good defense and contest three-point shots from Boston, they got on the boards. They out-rebounded Boston, I want to say, by 15 or 20. That's what they've got to do. And to do that without Jared Allen, even more impressive. But you got to get used to that because I don't know if or when Jarrett's coming back. He's got a pretty serious injury. But Dean Wade would be, I've said to you, Chris and I have talked about this. Dean Wade, I think, was an X factor, for the Cavs. Could have been a huge factor. I don't think they would have beaten New York, but he could have been a huge factor against the Knicks. He was out. Now you lose him. You lost him in that Orlando series. They definitely could have used him because we saw Orlando's size. Okay, the experience wasn't there, but they had size. They certainly had some scores, and they got killed on the glass. So hopefully Dean Wade will be ready to go on Saturday. But all I can say, Bohm, is, amazing how different a team looks when the shots fall. The coach looks smarter. The players look better. Food tastes better. The air smells better. Everything's better. Continue to make those shots and continue to contest those. You hold Boston to 94, you've done something pretty significant, and they scored 118. So it's knotted at 1, far from over. Boston is very capable of doing what they did to Miami. But keep in mind, and no bias here, Miami is not Cleveland. Miami's tough, but Cleveland has more talent. Are they going to be able to sustain? Go ahead, Bo. You're smiling. Uh-oh.
I was just going to say Cleveland is Cleveland.
Cleveland is Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland will. Yeah, who said Cleveland is Cleveland?
It was after a Browns game.
It was the Steelers.
It might have been a Bengals player. Was it a Steelers player?
Oh, you're right.
Jamar Chase?
I think it was.
He had the elf comment first, and then he threw out the Cleveland is Cleveland.
I think you're right. I think it was Jamar Chase. Cleveland is Cleveland. Cleveland is a better team than Miami. That doesn't mean that they can win this series. Hey, they still might fall in this series. If I'm a picking man and I'm making, I don't know if I'm to the point after one game to say, all right, I'm picking the Cavs to win this series. Some of you already have on Twitter, and that's great. That's okay. That's the beauty of being a fan. I would need to see them do that once more at home and really, preferably Saturday, and really make Boston pucker. I mean, that would be a lot of fun. All right, we'll take a break, and when we come back, he is the former All-Star second baseman, host of the wildly popular Bret Boone podcast. We'll talk to him about the Guardians off to a great start, but a key loss in Stephen Kwan. A lot of surprises in both Central divisions in both leagues. Boone is up next. It's the Chico Bormann Show. More to come right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back. Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. And as promised, we love talking baseball with the one and only Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, former Gold Glover. And, you know, at times he has come to us from the great beyond in camouflage on hunting trips. Now, Booney makes it happen from the airport. Now, he kind of, Boom, I don't know. Doesn't it look like he looks like a driver for one of the celebrities, like he's waiting for one of his clients, and he's got the shades on. He kind of looks like maybe like a Secret Service. Oh, Booney, you ruined. You kind of look. You had the Secret Service look going on with those shades.
Yeah, I'm out. I do it all. I wear a bunch of different hats, as you guys know, and yeah, we've got the Boone boys traveling today. I got Bob in tow. It's going to be an adventure. We're just getting going. Unbelievable line today at security at the San Diego International Airport. I'm not happy with it, but we got through.
Booney, if I was one of the TSA agents and I was scanning the crowd, I would say, wait, that's Bob and Bret. Let them go.
Well, it's hilarious. His dad, you know, he gets to the point now where he gets pissed at anybody that gives him any gruff. So something was happening at security. We were going through, and he's just reasoning with him like, man, I don't know what's in my body. Like, well, he says, sir, does your dad have any metal in his body? I said, not that I know of. So they had to bring him around, and he got the special treatment. He got to go through, you know, how we have to go through the X-ray. He just went through the walkthrough. So.
Good. Bob Boone deserves that. All right.
Yes.
Booney and Bob Dad from the airport. Dad Bob, I should say, from the airport, getting ready to go see son Jake and grandson Jake play ball. All right, Booney, let's start here, because I think this has kind of been the talk all around baseball. The Central Divisions. We'll start obviously in the American League with our Guardians. The Central Divisions in both leagues really have been the talk, but the American League, which last year, and I know we're still early in the season, but last year it was, you know, man, seemingly if you were above 500, you had a shot in the race. You got 4 teams right now, including Kansas City, including Detroit, 4 teams above 500. The Guardians leading the way at 24-14. Twins, on the strength of a 12-game winning streak, are just a game and a half back. But the AL Central, minus the Chicago White Sox, they're another story. This has been kind of an amazing start for everybody involved.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the American League Central is a big surprise to me. The National League Central is a huge surprise to me, with Milwaukee and Chicago doing as well as they are. They're really pitching. I mean, there's a lot of – usually the pitching is going to win out early in the season, April, early in May. But who expected the Kansas City Royals to be pitching like they are? I mean, they're third best in the American League right now. You know, that team, after you get past Bobby Witt and Perez, you know, they're real thin offensively, but they can pitch. They got a good bullpen. They got a real good formidable starting rotation. So it's been interesting. Twins got off to a really bad start. Nobody was hot, but Jeffers is swinging the bat for them. They've got the arms. I think they proved that last year in the postseason.
Yeah,
Minnesota. So they're going to be around. I'll tell you, the Guardians have been a real pleasant surprise. I mean, I know Kwan went down recently. He made a bunch of swing changes in the offseason. He's been phenomenal, hitting over 350 all year. He's down. He's on the IL now. But, you know, Naylor's turning into a real good player. He went through some growing pains. Everybody always thought he was going to be good, but he's he's turning into a really good player. And of course, we talk about Ramirez. He's kind of your constant year in and year out. Bybee, Allen, and McKenzie, anchor that rotation. Lively, but Clase obviously is still one of the elite closers in the game. Sandlin's setting him up. And still, I look at this team, and as good as they're doing, I mean, they've been best record in baseball pretty much all season, or right there with the top teams in baseball. Cleveland's still a surprise to me. If you'd have told me Williams, if you'd have told me Bieber is in that rotation, I'd say, oh, okay, these guys could really pitch. But with those two guys going down and Cleveland still doing what they're doing, they've got something special. And Stephen Coat in his first year out, taking the helm and big shoes to fill with Tito being gone. I'm really impressed with the Guardians thus far.
Yeah, very resilient team. Again, Guardians 24-14 lost last night to the White Sox. They'll be taking them on again this evening. Real quick on the NL Central before we move on. The Brewers, to me, I think the big surprise is we thought this offseason, not that they were going in the tank, but you thought this was going to be one of those sell-off years. I mean, Corbin Burns is gone, and they lost some Woodruff, as far as the injury. So you just kind of figured, well, you know what, this is going to be a down year for them. Again, a lot of season left, but here's the other thing. They're pitching well. They're hitting relatively well. The Brewers were a team that I didn't expect a whole lot from when you looked at how they went about the offseason. But, again, that's why they play the games.
Yeah, you got Rice Hoskins come over, big influence coming from a real winning culture in Philadelphia. He missed the year 2023. A young kid. I played with his dad. Brian Terang was a teammate of mine in Seattle. The young Terang kid's really
Bryce,
good.
yeah.
Base.
Okay.
Yeah, stolen base threat. I think he was a number one pick. He's finally in the mix. And look at Yelich. Yelich is MVP 4 or 5 years ago, was the future superstar of the game. They were talking about him and Cody Bellinger being the future of baseball. And both have had their big time struggles. Yelich all of a sudden playing like the player they expect him to be. So yeah, Milwaukee's been a surprising feel good story at the beginning of the year. Now, Milwaukee kind of, to me, Chico, is like that Tampa Bay Rays organization. It's just they created a winning culture where nobody ever gives them any credit coming out of the gate. Nobody ever picks Milwaukee to go deep in the playoffs, and yet year in and year out they're there. They got rid of their skipper this year, or they didn't get rid of him. He got rid of them, went over to the Chicago Cubs, the big rival, right there neck and neck at the top of the division with them. In Craig Counsell. But at the same time, you know how I feel about managers. Yes, managers can only do so much. They run the show, they run the personnel, they manage people. But once that national anthem ends, the managers in the major leagues really have a minimal effect. Nowadays with the data and the play and the matchups, a computer can do that. But it's that steadying presence in the clubhouse. Milwaukee, whatever they've done, top to bottom as an organization, really have created a winning culture and an impressive winning culture, because everybody can't do it. Yeah, you can get the players, but year in and year out, when nobody really pays attention to you, nobody puts you on the radar as a real threat to anybody, consistently year in and year out going to the postseason, Milwaukee Brewers really have done something impressive. And I'm talking organizational wise. Just annually, they're just always there. Like I said, like the Rays, year in and year out, they're always changing that roster. If you go to the Rays, I can't name a third of that team on the roster on a yearly basis. But yet, when it comes down to the wire and we're going to the playoffs, it seems like they're always in the mix, and that's not an easy thing to do. But those organizations have found a way to do it.
A couple other surprises too, and the Boston Red Sox in the American League East.
Wow.
You talk about the beginning of the year. The only acquisition they made, there was they should be in a lot more guys. The only guy that they brought in was Lucas Giolito. He's out for the year. So, the last thing you would think is that Boston would turn in April for the ages. And I think somebody said, I heard somebody say this was the best April they had for starting pitching in like 100 years. Go figure. That's why the game. But, Boston's still hanging. I don't think they're going to be there at the end. But just to get out of the gate the way they have with all those, with all the injuries and really just lack of talent in that rotation is pretty impressive.
Well, not only that, I mean, they're 19-18 in one of the best divisions of baseball. But they're pitching better than anybody. They're not just pitching decent. They're pitching better than I think anyone in baseball. I know for sure in the American League, but that's going to be a tough division. The Yankees are another team that have really impressed me out of the gates. I didn't expect it. The Yankees year in and year out, they've got the names, they've got the star power. But Soto coming over, we knew he was going to be an impact, but he's been a bigger impact than I think we thought he was. The key is keeping Aaron Judge on the field. And I always talk about this. Giancarlo Stanton, he's not Aaron Judge. He's not Juan Soto, but his presence in that Yankee lineup is huge. And so far, so good on staying healthy. He's been hitting some home runs. But the surprise to me is when you have a guy like Cole go down, who's arguably the best pitcher in baseball coming off the Cy Young Award, going down that early, and you've got guys like Nestor Cortez, Rodon, who they had huge expectations a year ago, posted a 6 ERA, Clark Schmidt, Stroman they brought over to be in the middle of that rotation. You kind of didn't know what to make of it to start the season. These guys, they've been unbelievable. I mean, they're 25-14. Yeah, I'm always pulling for Uncle Aaron, but to say I'm not surprised, I'd be lying. I'm surprised they've done as well as they have, but they've been healthy top to bottom. Verdugo coming over from Boston's been a big boon for them.
Yeah.
And then you go to the top of the division as well with Baltimore. Baltimore was a feel-good story a year ago. They won 101 games. That's great. They got a lot of young talent. Who are these guys? Are they that good? Yes, you acquired Corbin Burns. That's definitely a top. But I didn't think it was going to be enough to go on that 100-win pace this year. Well, they're proving me wrong. Those kids over there in Baltimore, they got a winning culture going on. It's almost like they don't know better and they don't know what they're doing. They're 23, 24. Matt Holiday's son came up. He had all the he's got all the hype. He's going to be a great player. He came up. That didn't work right now. He's in the minor leagues for a little more seasoning. But these young players,
Gunnar Henderson is so exciting.
Playing like an MVP. And these guys, like I said, they don't know anything. They just go out, win. They don't really care. It seems like they're having a great time over there. Corbin Burns still is the anchor of that rotation. They finally got Bradish back. The questions I have for Baltimore is that bullpen. Bautista, like a Clase and with the Guardians, is just an elite closer. He's out for the year with Tommy John. They brought in Kimbrel, which, Kimbrel, he's had a borderline Hall of Fame career for me. But the way last year kind of imploded with the Phillies, now he's a kind of a patch job to get back to Bautista. He's blown the last 3 or 4 saves. So I think that's going to need to be addressed. Other than that, man, that's a really good division. And Boston right in the middle, I said, pitching better than anybody else. When you can pitch, you've got a chance. You look at my Seattle Mariners, who we've been talking about, one postseason appearance in the last 23 years or something like that. But you look at that rotation, top to bottom, they pitch better than anybody else in baseball, or right there with the best stats. Their offense, very dismal. And to this point, they're holding serve. I think they're a game and a half out in that American League West. But it just goes to show you, if you can pitch, you always got a chance to compete. If you can't pitch, you've never got a chance. But there's a lot of interesting subplots, I think, going into this 2024 season that I know I didn't see coming, and I don't know who saw coming. But it makes the game great. I mean, it's a tribute to the game and the parody that's been created by the people that work at Major League Baseball. So I think it's great for the game. Have all these cities involved and all these cities contending. You've got so many cities and fans from all over the place that are excited right now. And I think in years past, we haven't had that. It's usually the same group of teams that are involved and leading the division. Right now, it's not like that. It's really cool to see.
All right. we've certainly touched on this guy plenty of times. I know we've run out of adjectives, but Booney, this whole scandal breaks at the beginning of the year with Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter, and his interpreter's going to be going away for a while for stealing money from him. Well, how's Ohtani going to react to that? How is Shohei Ohtani?
He's been having a tough time at it.
Leading the league in hits, 355 average, 11 home runs, right up there in RBIs. Like, Booney, I hate to, but I think we've done this in the past, but I'll say it again. He might be the best baseball player I've ever seen. Now, we're not going to see him pitch this year, but I mean, maybe that's hyperbolic. I don't know. But to do it at this level, we've already seen him dominate on the mound, and we'll see how he returns after the injury. But now it's like, and you said this last year to me, you're like, Chico, imagine if he concentrates on one area, which unfortunately because of the injury, now he has to. I mean, he's raking like nobody else in the game. It's crazy.
It is ridiculous. I'm you know this. I don't need to say it. I don't need to be a fanboy anymore, but I'm a huge Ohtani guy. To think what I've watched for the last 2 or 3 seasons, I thought I'd never see in my lifetime. I thought one day, yeah, maybe at the big league level. It's one thing to do it at a college level or something like that where, yeah, you're a great hitter and yeah, you can give them an inning on the mound. You might close out a game. We've seen that before at the collegiate level. But to do it at the professional level, yeah, maybe one day you'd see a guy that could give you an inning in the bullpen. He's a full-time player. But now let's fast forward to Shohei Ohtani. Not only is he doing it, playing every day as a hitter, but he's in the starting rotation. And by the way, he's not in the starting rotation. He's your number one. And he's hitting second in the lineup. So he's an all-star caliber starting pitcher. He's an all-star caliber hitter. He has the Tommy John, so he's going to be out the year from pitching. And like you said, you alluded to the fact that now he gets to concentrate on just hitting. I don't know how he was doing it before, because I know what we have, what checkpoints we have, what things we have to do, the maintenance we have to keep up on the hitting side, because you're playing 162. But then to throw in the pitchers and what they have to do, the rubber band work and the in-between starts. And, I've got to go throw a bullpen today. But, yeah, I have early BP because my swing isn't right. I don't know how he was shuffling that. But the fact that he's just concentrating on hitting right now, and you're right, he's getting in that conversation of the greatest ever just because of what he can do on both sides. But now he's upped his game to where he was hitting at an MVP level. Now he's hitting. He's kind of starting to act like Bonds. He's hitting like Barry Bonds, which I never thought I'd see again. It's remarkable. I think we're lucky to be seeing this in our day and age. And he just continues to just have more confidence and more confidence because he just steals. I think he steals bases. Just to get the reaction of people like, and you steal bases? I mean, he steals second and he just smiles like, yeah, I can do this too. What else can you do? Let's. I want Shohei Ohtani after hours. I want him at the billiards, playing billiards. I want him at the bar throwing darts with me. I'm sure he's good at all that. I'm sure he can bowl right and left-handed.
We're talking to Bret Boone. Booney, final thing for you here. I know you got to jump aboard a flight there with your pops. Big pitching debuts. Now we're always excited whether it's an arm in Major League Baseball for your particular team that you've been waiting on, and he was a high draft pick, but. Paul Skeens, this kid out of LSU who's with the Pirates right now, has been sick down in AAA. I mean, he's been ridiculous. 0.99 ERA, 45-8 strikeout to walk ratio. Some are saying this might be the biggest debut or most anticipated pitching debut since Steven Strasburg. I want to ask you, because we were talking about this off the air when Kerry Wood first broke in with the Cubs, and he was just, I remember that game against the Astros, you remember it too, and you were telling me that you had him next start. I guess what I'd like to know is take us in as a veteran player, as a hitter, what are you trying to, because there is a book on these guys, everybody's got a book on them, but what are you trying to accomplish against a guy like Skeens or Strasburg when you haven't seen him for yourself yet?
Right. Or in my case, because I could relate to it, I never faced Steven Strasburg or obviously Skeens, but I did face Gary Wood. And the expectations were there as a veteran hitter. It's our worst nightmare because what do we like? As much as Pedro and Clemens and Maddox and Smoltz and Glavine and Randy Johnson are a pain in the butt to face because their stuff's so electric. At the same time, there's a comfort there because I've seen it, been there, done that before a lot. So I know how they're going to come at me. I know how their balls move. So I have a little bit of intel going into those at-bats. You get a phenomenon like a Strasburg or Kerry Wood before I faced him, a Skeens with just off the charts electric stuff. The unknown is the biggest thing for us as veteran hitters. The unknown is what scares us. And it's like, yeah, I can watch it on film, I can see it, but I've never sat in the box and felt it. And until you do that, you don't know what you're dealing with. So yeah, it's not a comfortable at that. It's probably more comfortable for a rookie to go and face him because that's what you do in the minor leagues. You're going from A ball to double A to triple A. You never have a true book on somebody. There's not a history where year in and year out, you're in the same league with the same guys. In the big leagues, that's as you get more time, you're in the same leagues with a Roger Clemens, with a Pedro Martinez for 8, 9, 10 years at a time. So you have a history. You've had 20, 25 at-bats against these guys, and you know what to expect. The unknown, like I said, for a veteran hitter especially, is the worst. Minor leagues, or young rookie players, you don't know any better because you're used to that. It's like when you go to a minor league ballpark and the backdrop sucks. You don't know any better.
Right.
You go to the big leagues for 10 years and you go back to a minor league A-ball stadium and say, you see that backdrop and you're like, wait a minute, I can't play here. I can't see. Well, you could play here when you're at A-ball. Yeah, because you didn't know any better. So
let me ask you something real quick on Skeens, because we keep hearing and the fastball and triple digits and more than anybody else in baseball this year. But obviously, as well as anyone, and you've said it many, many times, and many of the great hitters have said it, that, after a while, a kid throws gas, we're going to time him up. How important is it for him to, like, you're hearing, like, well, he might have to throw his changeup more against left-handed batters because, again, it's the big leagues, and you jump 2 levels, and you're not going to be able to fool them just with the fastball anymore.
Right. I think you're going to see a lot of early success from Skeens. The unknown, guys not knowing what to expect. But you're right. Velocity for a big league hitter, it's really not a big deal. When I was 25 years old, I don't care how hard you throw. You throw. Velocity is irrelevant to me because if you're not hitting your spots, it's still a fat fastball in the middle of the plate, especially when you're in your prime. And everything's working at its optimum. Velocity is really not a factor. It helps. When you miss a spot, having more velocity is always an advantage. But he's going to have to, have his learning curve in the big leagues, just like everybody else. With the stuff he possesses, it's probably going to be a little less of a learning curve because he's got elite stuff. In the big leagues, I always thought this. For a number one starter, there's a reason they're a number one starter. Why is that? Because they have more than one plus pitch. Everybody in the big leagues has 1 plus pitch. But the guys that have 2 and 3, now you've got 3 pitches. Okay, if he's got a fastball, a slider, and a changeup, man, I can't hit all 3. I just can't. So I've got to pick one, sit on it, and roll the dice. And if he goes the alternate route with me, for example, if I'm sitting soft and he's gonna throw me the fastball all day today, well, I'm gonna have a rough day because I'm not going to change my approach in middle of an at bat because I'm wrong. In the other way, if I'm sitting fastball and he gives me a steady dose of off-speed stuff, a steady diet of that, I'm going to have a rough day. Yeah, I can touch it. I can put it in play. I'm not going to be able to hurt you. So those guys that have not only 2, but 3 plus, we call them plus pitches, man, they're a headache. They're a headache. You got to get on one because you're not going to hit both. If you get down to the 3rd, 4th, 5th starter in a rotation, usually they don't have 2 plus pitches. They've got maybe a plus breaking ball, but their fastball is average. So you can get away with just looking for a spot or a zone in the strike zone and go from there. But those number one, those Skeens type guys, and I've seen the tape. It makes me, Chico, when I'm watching these games, I see a guy like a Skeens or I talked to you about this when Strasburg was first coming up. I had been recently retired, and that was the one guy I remember watching. Actually, me and Dad went to a game in San Diego. He was VP for the Nationals at the time. And I remember we sat right next to the dugout, and I saw Strasburg from the side. And he seemed like he was throwing 110 miles an hour. And I remember turning to Dad at that point. I think I was 3 years retired. And I said, Dad, these are the days right here that make me really excited that I'm sitting right here and not in that batter's box. And Skeens gives me that same feeling right now. I'm like, man, I'm glad I can sit here on the couch and I don't have to grab a bat, because that looks like no fun. It's going to be interesting to watch him. I know Pittsburgh's excited. They need some excitement. And Pittsburgh's another team. They've got some young, talented guys. I don't think they're ready to make that move and go to the postseason and compete for anything. But they've got some young talent in Pittsburgh. And Skeen's just going to be another big talent coming to the big leagues right now, and going to add some excitement to that Pirates base.
All right, he's Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman and Gold Glover, and
going beyond,
host
above and beyond for the Chico Bormann show.
How about this guy? Bohm has been mesmerized by your left bicep. Your guns there, really. Bohm's having a hard time focusing on the job. I mean,
he caught me.
Bohm, that would be a tricep, and it's an optical illusion. It's the way the phone's sitting. It makes it look really bigger than it is. I'm normally I'm really an average looking physique guy.
Sure. Check out the Bret Boone podcast. Recently had the Hit King on. That was very entertaining. So who's coming up, by the way, on the podcast before we let you go and get on that flight?
I talked to Bledsoe. I want to get Bledsoe on again. We've had Drew on before, but he's just fresh off that Tom Brady roast, and I got to hear what it was like on the ground floor, behind the scenes, because I don't know if you guys watched the roast, but it was the clips I saw, and I've seen about 40-50 minutes, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we're going to have him coming up. We got Annie Sabo on the show today. She's that Valley Sports, and she breaks down Cincinnati Reds baseball thus far.
Is she related to Chris?
That's his daughter.
Okay.
Now check her out. Annie's adorable. She's a pretty girl. Doesn't look like her dad. Spuds, if you're watching me,
well, I'd hope she doesn't wear the goggles.
You and your dad. Oh, she does. She does. She's great. She's fun. We were telling stories about her dad, and she's like, yeah, I just have to tell my friends growing up that, listen, my dad's a really good guy and he's a really good dad, but he's different. So if he doesn't talk to you, he really doesn't like people much. It's a really interesting interview. She breaks the Reds down. We got Mark Grant next week, who's been the color man for the San Diego Padres he corrected me, by the way. I said 27 years. He said, Boone, no, it's 29 years. So I had Mark on. He'll come out early next week. So we just keep plotting along, Chico. We get the guests as they come.
Booney, keep up the great work. Safe travels with Bob. Enjoy your time with your son, Jake, and we will hear all about it when we talk to you next. Thank you so much, bud.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
All right. That is, again, Bret Boone, and, of course, live from the airport, getting ready to I don't think they would allow him to do that on the flight. In flight. Then we got a shot of Bob, too. That was good. I like that. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up, and we're also going to talk a little Cleveland Cavaliers. Get you ready for Game 3 coming up. Huge Game 3, but plenty to get you ready for the Cavs and Boston. Also, we've got some Guardians talk to get to before we wrap things up. That's on the way. Chico Bormann Show. More to come right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. Good stuff there from Bret Boone, the former All-Star second baseman, talking Guardians, going around Major League Baseball. But let's face it, all focus right now is on tomorrow night, is on the Cavs and the Celtics Game 3. Can the Cavaliers contest threes? And I think it was Dan Shaughnessy who wrote it. The Celtics have not had shots contested start to finish like they did last night against the Cavs. The Cavs, if they're going to win this series, that has to be a constant. And then all of a sudden you start getting confidence on your own on the other end, hitting some shots, maybe getting Dean Wade back on Saturday, help you with the boards. Boston still should be the favorite, but they are clearly puckering, and they should be. And this Cavs team seemed to lack confidence, seemed to lack a lot against Orlando. Maybe this one win has restored that. We'll see what happens. Go Cavs coming up on Saturday. And also thanks to Bret Boone for joining us again. Him and Pops heading off to Boston to go watch his son play. So safe travels for him. But hopefully next week we're talking about this series down to the nitty-gritty, and we're talking about the Cavs on the brink. But hey, it's going to be, as I said, a raucous affair at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. For Michael Bohm, I'm Mike Chico Bormann, all of us here at Big Play Sports. Make it a great week, everybody. See you.